note that the date of investment is January 1, 20x4, and we are given the trial balance on December 31, 20x4, and also on December 31, 20x5. Take note that the investment account is debited on the trial balance December 31, 20x4 and 20x5 for 372,000. Okay? So take note that as stated in the lower part of the problem, it states that no goodwill impairment loss for 20x5. Now, using cost model, first, cost model, it means that the investment account will remain at cost. Its balance will remain at cost regardless of transactions that affect the investment account. On the other hand, if the problem tells you the use of the equity method, in other words, the investment account should be carried at the equity amount. Now, when we talk about equity, the investment account balance will be debited for the original price, and then will also be debited for net income. It will be credited for net loss and for dividends. So what we mean anyway by equity method is that the investment account balance will be carried at its equity balance and not at cost. Now, in this problem, in requirement number 1, it states the use of the cost model. In requirement number 1, we have A, B, and C. A, determine the consolidated retained earnings, non-controlling interest, and consolidated stockholders' equity on January 1, 20x4. Now, for our solutions to A, B, and C, you can refer to the canvas for the solution of problem 1. Okay? Are you now in the canvas? Can you see the solution guide of problem 1? Everybody? Everybody,
Yes,
can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
yes,
Hello?
ma'am.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay
ma'am.
pa?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see the solution in the canvas?
Yes, ma'am.
Naka-PDF for problem 1. It states, problem 1, cost model. Can you see? Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, I will focus on the solution guide in the canvas while in the process of discussing. I may stop and ask you to, anyway, for your assignment, I will tell you, determine or how did you arrive or how was the amount arrived at. So that will be your assignment, no? I will refer to whatever part, no? Though there may be parts that I will be explaining how the amount was taken. Okay, so in letter A, we are going to determine, as required in the problem, we determine the consolidated retained earnings on January 1, 20x4. On January 1, 20x4, which is the date of acquisition, the retained earnings of B should be considered as the consolidated retained earnings. Now, as we have to remember that it's only the retained earnings balance of the parent that will remain because the retained earnings balance of the subsidiary will be eliminated in your consolidated statements. Of course, you have to involve your elimination entries. So the retained earnings that will be used on January 1, 20x4 is that of the parent. So you look at your book on your trial balance, we have the retained earnings amount of 360,000. That is the amount on January 1, 2024, though as given here. That's the amount on December 31, 2024. This amount is still unadjusted. So take note that the beginning and the ending balances, the ending before adjustment is still equal to the beginning. But if you are going to close whatever net income or loss, whatever dividends to against retained earnings, so the ending will be different from the beginning. So let's now assume that the balance given in the December 31, 2024 balance sheet or trial balance, the retained earnings of Pascal Company is still equal to the beginning. Okay? So we have now the letter B requirement. Determine the non-controlling interest on January 1, 2024. So the non-controlling interest here is if we involve partial goodwill on January 1, 2024, so we have the common stock. Common stock on January 1, 2024 of S Company, the common stock is 240,000. Then we have the amount of retained earnings of S Company before elimination, the amount of 120,000. So the stockholders' equity of S Company is 360,000. There is no APIC. And the 360,000 being the shareholders' equity of S Company on January 1, 2024, we have now the adjustments to reflect fair value over or undervaluation of assets and liabilities as of date of acquisition. So take note that we have the over or undervaluation of assets and liabilities equal to 90,000. Now you try to find 90,000 by comparing Sachs companies fair values and compared to the book value. Like for example, inventory undervaluation, you have 6,000. Land undervaluation, 7,200. And the rest of the assets and liabilities. So take note how 90,000 was arrived at. I have already guided you partially. Okay? So we have now the fair value of shareholders' equity of S on January 1, 2024 is total of 450,000. We are adding 90,000 because this is an undervaluation. So the adjusted fair value of the stockholders' equity of S is 450,000, and then we multiply it by 20%. That's the non-controlling interest or the minority interest. So you get the amount of the non-controlling interest by using the partial goodwill approach. So it's 90,000. We are going to add the non-controlling interest on full goodwill. That's equal to 15,000. Okay, the full goodwill, that's equal to 15,000. And we deduct the amount of 12,000. That will be your second assignment. Where did these amounts, uh, 15,000 and 12,000. Okay, but if you look at the problem, the solution, you are already given 15,000 and 12,000. So there's a difference of 3,000. First, determine where 15,000 was taken. And how about 12,000? So we now get the 3,000. That's the non-controlling interest on full goodwill approach, which we are going to add to 90,000. The non-controlling interest using the full goodwill or fair value basis is 93,000. Now, that is requirement number letter B. The third requirement is letter C, where we have to determine the shareholders' equity. Requirement C, consolidated stockholders' equity. Now, as we move on, going down, okay, we move on the over or the undervaluation of assets and liabilities are summarized as follows. So we have now the inventory given, all the amounts are given, including the book values and the fair values. So inventory had an undervaluation, 6,000. Land undervaluation. Then we have equipment of given is 84,000. That's for the difference between 180 and 96. So you have 84,000. And we have the fair value of 180,000. So again, there is an undervaluation equal to 96,000. We have the buildings at net. The buildings at net of 168,000. The difference between 360,000 and 192. So you have now 168,000, whereas the fair value is only 144,000. In other words, there was an overvaluation for buildings. Try to observe that your undervaluation, you do not enclose in parentheses, while the overvaluation, you do enclose. Okay, so we now have our bonds payable. The bonds payable, the fair value is 115,200 and the book value is 120,000. Though you will notice that the fair value is lower than the book value, but it is still an undervaluation considering that this is a liability. In contrast to the other accounts, which are all assets, this one is a liability. So even if you have your undervaluation, but the fact that it's a liability, even if you have book value higher than fair value, meaning it's an overvaluation, considering that it's a liability, it becomes an undervaluation when it comes to net assets. So the total fair value at net is 294,000 and we have the book value of only 204,000. So you got now your undervaluation equal to 90,000. So at least the problem already answers my assignment to you. How did we get 90,000? It's already there. Then, the buildings and equipment will be further analyzed for consolidation purposes as follows. So we have now the equipment, less the accumulated depreciation. The net book value is only 84,000. The fair value is 180,000. So there is an amount of 96,000. That 96,000 is again an undervaluation. On the other hand, the building has a difference of 24,000. 24,000 is an overvaluation, considering that the book value is higher than the fair value. So 24,000 is an overvaluation once it is inside the parentheses. A summary of depreciation and amortization adjustment is as follows. So we have now the adjustment for inventory in the amount of 6,000. It's already given above. And then we have the subject to annual amortization. With regards to the overvaluation in the inventory, it will be charged outright to cost of goods sold, since the goods or the inventory affected by this undervaluation was already sold during 20x4. So it will be an adjustment to cost of goods sold and reduce the inventory for the undervaluation. Now, for the annual amortization, the equipment, the undervaluation is 96,000, and the remaining life of the equipment is 8 years. So in other words, the annual amortization will be 12,000. So for the current year, it's 12,000. For 20x5, it's still 12,000. The 12,000 will run for 8 years. While the building which was overvalued and the overvaluation is 24,000, we divide that by a period of 4 years. So every year we have 6,000. Take note that it is a deduction unlike equipment, because equipment had an undervaluation while building was overvalued. So that's why we deduct. For the bonds payable being a liability, actually there is an undervaluation in terms of net assets. The fact that this is a liability. So the bonds payable, 4,800, we are going to divide it by 4. So the annual amortization of the discount actually is 4,800. That's your discount on bonds payable, which you are going to debit to normally interest expense and to credit discount on bonds payable. So it will be an adjustment, considering that we have an adjustment by 4,800. So the current year, we have 1,200 bonds payable. It's a liability, and the fair value is lower than the book value. So we have an adjustment in the amount of 4,800. Okay, next we go to the letter C requirement. Actually, letter C requirement is to determine the consolidated shareholders' equity or stockholders' equity. So we are going to determine the consolidated stockholders' equity either by partial or full goodwill basis. Partial goodwill or proportionate goodwill, and the other one is full goodwill or fair value basis. The consolidated shareholders' equity for the stockholders' equity, that's now required on January 1, 20x4 sa requirement number 1. So, on January 1, 20x4, we begin with the common stock at 10 peso par. So the common stock at 10 peso par, that of Pascal Company is 600,000, and its retained earnings amounting to 300 60,000. And we are now adding the NCI, which is for 90,000. The one that we have already computed, the NCI, by using the partial goodwill. You can refer to letter B requirement. So we have the total stockholders' equity, the consolidated equal to 1,050,000. And the other option is to compute for the consolidated shareholders' equity by using the full or the fair value basis goodwill. So again, we add common stock, 600,000. We add retained earnings, 360,000. And we add the non-controlling interest in letter B above. The non-controlling interest by using full goodwill, or we have fair value basis goodwill of 93,000. So the consolidated shareholders equity is 1,053,000. Okay, so these are the requirements to and answers to requirement number 1. We have 1, A, B, and C. Now, for the next requirement, which will require a very, very long solution because of the breakdowns. Here, I am going to ask you to determine some amounts. Though the amount is given, the final amount, but I will just ask you to determine how the amounts, no, were taken, or you have to prepare a summary of or breakdown of how the amounts were taken. So the second requirement, determine the following